Hello and welcome to The Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of The Gaggle, Peter Lavelle, host also of RT's talk show, Crosstalk. Well, a couple of days ago, the jury in Minnesota came back with guilty counts, all three guilty counts on Derek Chauvin, who, of course, was the man, believed to be responsible for the death.
Held responsible.
Held responsible for that. One has to say right away that this was a joke of a trial. It should never have taken place in Minneapolis, given the explosive atmosphere there, and given also the historical record, which is that in previous controversial trials, they were moved to a more neutral territory. Remember, O.J. Simpson wasn't put on trial in Brentwood, where he lived and where the murders were committed. It was taken to downtown L.A. The Rodney King trial also was taken out of L.A. and into the Simi Valley. So there's nothing unusual in that. The judge refused to do that. The judge refused to sequester the jury and made the ridiculous assertion that he trusted the jurors, that when they go home, they don't turn on the news and they're not following social media and all the commentary. And then, of course, right before the jury was sent to deliberate, we had Maxine Waters' explosive, demagogic incitement to violence if the jury doesn't come to the right verdict. The jury was a disgrace. It was a joke. I mean, it was, it's very hard really to find the words to speak sufficiently lowly of this jury. They deliberated for 10 hours, which is absolutely nothing in a case of this complexity. It was a very complex factual base, very complex legal issues to be resolved. And when juries come back after virtually no deliberation, it's usually an acquittal. In other words, when juries say the government case was a joke, I mean, the government hasn't even remotely met his burden. It was like the same with O.J. Simpson. The jurors expressed their contempt for the government's case. I think in the case of the JFK assassination, when Garrison put some people on trial, and it was a ridiculous case, and the jurors came back in something like 15 minutes and dismissed the whole thing. So in this case, when you're dealing with anything of this magnitude, because the consequence of guilt is decades behind bars for a defender, your responsibility, you have to take it seriously. A man's life is in the balance. So you really need to do what a jury is supposed to do, go through the evidence, bit, piece by piece by piece, what the prosecution asserted, what the defense has asserted, and then make your appropriate decision. The jurors obviously did none of that. And then they just said, yeah, guilty, 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 which itself made no sense. I mean, if a guy's guilty of second-degree murder, how can he also be guilty of manslaughter? I mean, one has some intentionality, the other has no intentionality. So, even on its own terms, it makes absolutely no sense. So that was that. And then, of course, the mob outside was happy for about 5 minutes, and then went on in its lawless way. And because now we kind of have a paradigm of how you get the verdict you want. You protest, you scream and shout and bang the drum, shake your fist, threaten defense witnesses, threaten jurors, and you get the right verdict. And this may well be important in the case of the policewoman last week that we discussed, who shot, apparently accidentally,
it's all on video.
Exactly, a suspect who was trying to escape. She thought she was using a taser. Turned out to be a gun. She shot him, but it was, to us, it looks accidental. Nonetheless, boom, she's being prosecuted for a crime. And then a couple of days ago, we had in Columbus, Ohio, one girl, I mean, these are teenage girls, trying to stab another girl. And
All on video.
all on video.
Multiple videos.
Exactly, the policeman, he saw that one girl was about to kill the other girl, shot her. And now there's been the usual media hysteria again, white cop, black girl, leaving aside, of course, the issue that the victim, the one that who the policeman saved, was herself a black girl, and who incidentally was not involved in a fight, because if you look at the video, she's holding a small dog. I mean, so there's no fight going on here, because some say, oh, well, this is a knife fight. Why are you shooting in a knife fight? No, there's no fight here. She's holding a little dog.
I don't fight people with knives with my dogs.
Yes,
Sorry.
exactly. No, quite so. And in fact, it's kind of, if you watch the video, that little dog, she drops the dog to try to defend herself. And then when the girl is shot dead, the dog sort of looks around and says, well, thank God I'm alive.
Well, I mean, there's so many things going on here. It's no coincidence. And let's just say the obvious. I'm not afraid to say the obvious. The incidences, tragic ones that we've mentioned, always has a white-black dynamic. That's intentional. I mean, how many kids are killed every weekend in Chicago?
Right.
A lot. Where's the coverage? None, because it's black on black. Okay. Sorry, everyone. That's true.
Right.
All right. What's going on here? The judicial system is slowly, not slowly, quickly being discredited. That's intentional. That's intentional. I believe that. This court packing thing, it's to politicize the judicial branch. That's only part of what's going on now. This very insidious program of defunding the police, there's a reason for that. They want to defund local, state, municipal police. Yes, they do. They want a national police, and they want it to be a politicized police force. Okay, that will secure their power, because you'll have an ideologically driven police force. The interesting thing is, Democrats traditionally have been the strongest supporters of states' rights. This is flipped right now, okay? Because you had Jim Crow, it came from the South, okay? You had states' rights is the rationale for people supporter of the South in the before the Civil War, is that it's state rights, okay? And it's the Democrats in the South, state rights. You have all these Confederate statues. That's all of them. Now it's flipped, okay? It's Republicans, conservatives that see this is a bastion. Okay, I think it was the state of Montana. I read it real quickly. They passed a resolution against America's forever wars. Okay, I mean, that's all nice and rhetorical, but for me, it kind of warmed my heart a little bit. I mean, because you have a jurisdiction saying we are against this, and we're putting the federal government on notice. Now, what the Democrats want to do, want to get rid of the Electoral College. They probably even seriously, in their heart of hearts, George, they want to get rid of the Senate. Okay, that way you have the tyranny of the majority. Okay, because when you have local police forces, when you have Electoral College, you have a lot of moving pieces and actors involved. And it's complicated. It's all done purposely to be complicated, to make sure that there is consensus. And they want to do away with all of that. Puerto Rico, Washington, D.C., turn them into states, okay? This is what they're going for broke, okay? But this defund the police, it is for a reason. They want a national police force.
Well, I agree.
Hear this coming out of the Biden administration.
Right. I think they want a national police force because they want to turn it into a political police force. Because what they want to do is turn. Don't go after all these criminals, because they don't really care very much about the crime, because these people are themselves safe. I mean, you look at AOC and all the rest of them.
Vaccine.
They have their own security guards. They don't know even the meaning of feeling unsafe. They have somebody take them to their cars in the car park, and they take somebody drives them home. All the time they have a security guard. So they don't even know what it means for people to be unsafe. But what they want to do is to turn that police into a political force and use them against their political opponents. And that's why I think that's exactly, they say, yes, defund the police as it is. Then when we've transformed it, refund,
Lavishly,
exactly,
lavishly.
money. So when you go after all these Trump people and all the quote white supremacists unquote, then we'll give you whatever you want. So that's really the agenda here. So they talk about states' rights, when it suits them. I mean, it's like during the election, it was, oh, states' rights, can't interfere what goes on in Georgia. That's entirely a Georgia matter. So, no, can't get, Supreme Court shouldn't get involved in what goes on.
That's why they
it's
That's
whatever,
why they
whatever.
want HR1 and SR1. They want to nationalize the elections.
Right. That's right. Because they figure that it will work to their advantage. Yeah, I don't know. It's always hard to know whether it really will work to their advantage, because once you, I mean, remember the way U.S. elections now work is, let's say Republicans, they don't bother to campaign in New York and California, in Illinois, because those states are just, they're hopeless for Republicans. But what would happen if suddenly they did start campaigning? After all, there are conservative people who live upstate New York. I mean, New York is mostly New York City, but there are also the rest of New York, other than New York City, is very conservative.
Okay, but George, see, there's a difference here, and that's a difference between us and these liberals, is that you and I are policy wonks. $15 a minimum wage. I'm willing to educate me. Okay, single payer. Educate me, convince me it's a good idea. No, these people are ideological. I mean, do you think they think about the consequences of their behavior? No. Okay. I mean, they're part of the 1%. They're safe. All of this. Okay, fine. But I mean, what they want to do. I mean, you and I have talked about this at great length. Is that they think one vote, one person. That's it. No more voting. Okay.
Right.
Well, how's it? One vote, one person, once. Okay,
Right.
and they think that they can settle. It's very naive to do that. But these people, I mean, the way they report on everything is racist. I mean, it's just nauseating. Okay,
Right.
And they and this is what I always tell my young friends. Don't believe in these revolutionary ideas, because they always end in a river of tears. Okay?
Well, exactly. And when you look at this whole thing of racism, what are we doing? I mean, in the case of the George Floyd trial, the prosecution didn't even attempt to make the race case. They didn't even attempt to say, oh, the police were motivated by racism. The whole thing was about the arrest of this person. The police, the prosecution couldn't even present a case as to that the police were wrong to arrest him. I mean, they were right to arrest him. He resisted arrest. It ended badly, as it always does. And then the issue becomes, was excessive force used? But they didn't say that this was in any way motivated by race, that they tried to arrest Floyd purely because he was a black man. I mean, they didn't.
Yeah, but
that would have been an idiotic case to make.
But the story in the media was exclusively race without mentioning it. I mean, it was the quiet part said out loud, okay? And it is the paradigm now for all of these stories. As I said when I first responded to you, is that we only are focused on these stories when it's a white police person and a black victim. Okay, I mean, remember that case in Atlanta when the shooting up of the massage parlors? Well, when they found out the identity of the person, they let it go. They didn't invest any resources into it at all. Okay, I mean, this is such a devious thing to do, because it's dividing people where there isn't division. I mean, what angers me, and I keep harping on this, is that they want to have a structural political change. What I want is a structural economic change, because I think that is where we have our real problems here. Because there are far more poor white people than there are black people, just by the very fact there's just a whole lot more white people.
Right.
Okay?
And incidentally, if one looks at the demographic figures as to the fact that life expectation is falling in the United States. It has been now for several years. It's falling. It's falling particularly harshly among white people, not among blacks, but among white people. Life expectancy is falling, and that's a real problem. And as you say, I mean, that you really have to talk about the economic situation that the people are facing. But what's really going on now is how it's very easy. Economic change, that's a big deal, but it's very easy to say, oh, racism, you're a racist, you're, whatever. I mean, that's very easy. A lot of people make a lot of money being the race hustlers. I mean, we've seen how, the rise of Al Sharpton and Maxine Waters and everyone else. And so, it's a good gig, because for the corporations, the wealthy, big, fat corporations, that's an easy one. Hey, they can bully their employees. They can bully their workforce. It's you. You are the terrible people. You whom we pay $10 an hour and whom we don't give anything at all. You are terrible because you're racist. And we are going to stamp out racism. Not only are we not going to pay you anything, we're going to keep bashing you over the head for being such terrible people. So it's a golden opportunity for them.
Yeah, and we'll and this show, we're nice and fair. We'll give you bottles to piss in while you're working. Okay.
Exactly. That's right. That's exactly it. Yeah. And there it is. Jeff Bezos signs a check, $100 million or whatever it was for Black Lives Matter. I mean, that's just nothing for him. I mean, that's just it's that's how much you pay the bartender. I mean,
that's his walking around money.
That is. I mean, it's less than walking around money for him. I mean, it's absolutely nothing, and it's easy. And they say, hey, I'm a great guy. Yes, the people who work for me, work in horrible sweatshop conditions, but I'm a great guy because I believe Black Lives Matter.
What's so disappointing, George, is that, again, I think you're a good faith actor. I believe I'm a good faith actor, and I'm always open to new ideas. We're at a critical juncture right now. We've had for decades the middle class being crushed, downwardly mobile, and all of the impact of that. I mean, socially, psychologically, emotionally. And then we have this pandemic, we have shutdowns, which of course hurt small and medium-sized businesses the most, okay? When now it's being debated, it's being openly debated in the mainstream media, were masks really necessary at all? I think of that restaurant worker in Southern California where they shut down her outdoor cafe when Hollywood had their casting and they had theirs open here. I think of that woman a lot, okay? Because her life was crushed. Okay, and so my point is here, we need very serious structural change, okay? And I'm willing to have a conversation, okay? I'm not interested in funding all your pet projects for diversity and equity and all that. I'm more interested in saying, let's build some roads, let's have some good paying jobs, let's look at what the middle class needs, because if you don't, you'll lose everything in the process. People don't believe in the justice system. They don't believe in the democratic system. They don't believe in justice at all. And we're going in the wrong direction. And putting it all under the cloak of racism doesn't solve anybody's problem.
Well, exactly.
And it makes some people rich.
Exactly. And the justice system is the one that's now most stark, because it is so politicized. It is so unfair. I mean, we see what happened to this person, the person who saved the life of a teenage Black girl. He was named within hours. His photograph, I mean, we should mention that his photograph was tweeted out by LeBron James, and saying something, "You're next." That was his tweet, "You're next." Clearly, openly, threat of violence. He did take down the tweet because that was just so outrageous. But then people will ask, well, how come we still don't know who shot Ashley Babbitt? Why was that so discreetly, kept hidden? Why didn't
and will be
took an interest, find out what's his name? Who was this guy who shot her?
Just amazing. It's just amazing how the most privileged and wealthy and pampered and worshipped people are our most famous victims, okay?
Right.
That's exactly what it is. You know, everyone wants to dox people, but no one will dox the guy that killed Ashley. No one will do that. No one has the courage to do that.
That's
Okay.
right. That's
Not that I'm for it. No, I just want accountability. I mean, he works for the government. He's a government employee. I mean, where's the transparency here?
Right. No, that's exactly right. And you're right about, the pampered. I mean, the whole idea of LeBron James being a victim. It's like, Meghan Markle, the victim. Uh, some of those MSNBC hosts, Joanne Reed, the victim.
George, I mean,
Obama, a victim. I mean, amazing.
Michelle, a victim. Okay,
Yeah.
Calling half the country racist in her Martha's Vineyard mansion. Okay, but I can't let Ashley Babbitt's death go. I can't, because you have an officer of a police department that discharged his weapon. I've never heard of it in my entire life, and I've watched a lot of TV shows. I've never ever. Where's Internal Affairs?
Right.
Who discharged their weapon? Right. There has to be accountability for that. And and half the country is saying, what about that?
Right.
Okay.
And we still got this, all the people who pretty much showed up on January the 6th, they're all still being hunted down by the FBI. I mean, this is still ongoing. Still months later, they're hunting them down. Wherever they're living. They're getting knocks on their doors from the FBI. Hey, we've got a security camera. You were at this demonstration. What do you have to say for yourself? I mean, the resources of the Justice Department, millions and millions of dollars for this nonsensical investigation.
And we have young teens knifing each other to death in Chicago. Where's the FBI?
Right.
Where are they? These young people, they not only are their civil rights being violated, their lives are being lost. Okay, and you're gonna expend all of the resources of the federal government to go after people that were loitering.
The funny thing is, of course, is that those of us old enough to remember the 1970s, we got to remember that this is sort of pretty much like what it was. I mean, the cops just decided, hey, we're not going to risk our lives. I mean, what's the use of that? Basically, the perp's going to walk anyway, and that fueled from the movies, Dirty Harry, and then of course the Death Wish movies. And I think that America will probably be in that position within a couple of years, because why would any cop want to arrest anyone? They say, well, if I arrest, this person's going to resist anyway, because every perp now resists. So why would I want to risk everything going badly, and then I'm facing 40 years behind bars? Why should I show up? I'm not going to show up.
What was the film that Paul Newman was in? Something Fort something the Bronx. What was that?
Oh, Fort Apache Bronx. Yeah,
right. It's a great film. Oh, I love that film. Okay, yeah. I mean, but see, then, and I may be wrong because I was a kid. But I mean, there's a political agenda at play right here. This is all intentional to radically transform the political structures of the country. And it really irritates me, again, my hobby horse here. They're most profoundly interested in political structures. I'm much more interested, be a Marxist, about the superstructure, okay? Because all of the problems that they claim that we have, and we do have them, but not to the degree that they claim, is because you have a broken economy. That's why we have all of this here. And this racial wedge. I mean, I feel just as bad for poor middle-class white people, Black people, Asian people, all of them in equal measure, okay? But that is not allowed.
Right. Well, I think that's it. But, what you have is within this, encouragement of lawlessness is, of course, is to set everyone off against one another. Now, what happens then? If the police basically say, we aren't going to get involved anymore because it's too much hassle. We'll wait for the crime to be committed, then we'll show up. When everything is safe, the shooter is gone. We'll just simply write down what happened, and then that's it. Let someone else handle the rest. then then we are back into the the jungle, and maybe even worse than what there was in the 1970s.
More guns.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and there was, of course, no guns. So you allow people, you take guns away from law-abiding people. You take away guns for them to protect themselves against the criminals who basically be allowed to just have the run of the streets.
We're just going to get vigilantism again.
Well, you are going to get vigilante, and maybe worse. I mean, this could have even be worse than the 1970s. I remember it was a long time before that was addressed. I mean, even in the 1980s, New York City was a dangerous place. I mean, people, young people, they don't remember anything other than the sort of the Giuliani era, and they think, oh, New York is always like that. Even in the 80s, it was not like that. You kept into the into the center, the wealthy part of the city. You didn't wander off anywhere else.
Same thing with Los Angeles. Same thing with LA. I remember.
Right, exactly. So I think that's kind of where everyone's heading, and and you've got a cowed, subdued population desperately just simply trying to stay alive, and that probably is, a government is quite happy with that. I mean, I'm sure people like AOC and all the rest of them, they're kind of happy. Not only are you scum and your life is in danger, but I can also tell you that you deserve it. You deserve it because you are scum, and because therefore your life being in danger is entirely appropriate punishment for you.
This is the political version of gain of function. This is what it is. Okay, this ideology is mutating, and it's all focused on power. It's all focused on power, and once they have the power, they can make universal their ideology. And with big tech, it can be done.
Right. No, yeah, that's right. And it'd be kind of interesting, even, the big tech is already even censoring information about the shooting in Columbus, Ohio. I think, they're taking down tweets where people are pointing out, hey, she had a knife in her hand and was about to plunge the knife into her victim. Twitter's already taking down those tweets. So yeah, you've got big tech firmly on the side of the mob.
Yeah, but if the officer hadn't discharged his weapon in defense of the woman that was going to be a potential victim, he would have been held negligent.
Right. No, that's exactly right. But yeah, we saw the way the media covered it, and made this bizarrely in other race issues when he saved the life of an African American teenager. So so. Peter, well, we will, of course, maintain our laser-like focus on the rising lawlessness on the streets of the United States. We're on Rumble. Please look us up on Rumble. And remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.